Hi there everyone and welcome to Year 5-6 edition of Teach Time English. So this week we're going to be looking at haiku poems, and this is all to do with rivers. So a haiku, where it originated from, is Japan, and it is a poem that is made up of 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the next line, and 5 syllables in the last line. So the poem is actually only 3 lines long. Now that might sound like a really easy poem to do, but when you get to thinking about it, it's actually really hard to put what you want into those really small constraints. Now, if you don't know what I mean by syllables, you might have heard it referred to as beats in each word. Every single word has a different number of syllables or a different number of beats. And the way you figure that out is you might be able to clap it out, or you might be able to do it in your head. But I'll just show you by tapping on the table when I hear the beat in each word. River. So there's one in ri and one in ver. You might like to do it as lines to split it up. River. Flowing. So flow, wing. Shimmering. Shimmering. So, the way that we work out how many beats, how many syllables are going to go into each line is we've got to figure out how many syllables are in each of our words. So here in river, I've got 2 syllables. So there were 2 beats in that word. In flowing, I've also got 2. But in shimmering, I've got 3. Now, you wouldn't want to use a word like shimmering in your very first line, really, because it takes up 3 of your syllables, unless you just want to do a tiny starter. So you might have shimmering river, because that's 3, add 2, well that makes 5, so you're sorted. But then you've also got to think about your 7 syllables and your 5 syllables. But before we even do that, we've got to think up some words to do with a river. So that's where my favourite part of English comes in. I do love a good word bank. So this is my word bank, all to do with rivers, but you can't copy all of mine just yet. I want you to pause the video now and I want you to think up as many words as you can to do with rivers. Think of adjectives, verbs, nouns, anything at all to do with rivers. You might be thinking about the way it looks, the way it sounds, what it does, anything at all. So pause the video now and think up as many words as you can for a river. Okay, now I hope you paused it and you haven't just carried on. So, here is my word bank, all to do with rivers. Now, I really like to split up my word banks if I'm talking about a certain topic. So with rivers, there's loads of different things to do with a river. You could talk just about the water and come up with loads of different words, or just the animals that live in a river, or even just use your 5 senses to describe a river. So I'll just go through the words that I've got to do with my senses first. So remember your 5 senses, your sight, touch, taste, smell, sound. So all of these 5 senses can go towards talking about a river. So I've got here bright, so I can see that a river is bright. If the sun's shining down on it, it looks beautiful when it's brightly shining. Gurgling, I love the sound of a river when it runs past, and it's kind of slow, but at the same time it's just about to pick up speed. It makes that kind of gurgle as it goes past. It might smell fresh. So you might be in the middle of a woodland area and you come to a river and you get that really nice smell of clean air, clean water. It might make you feel refreshed. If you touch a river, it's always quite refreshing. It wakes you up a little bit. And it feels cool. So the way that you get refreshed, I always love if I'm on a huge walk and I want to just cool down a bit, I'll put my hands in a river and I'll cool down nicely. But there's loads of animals that live in a river too. So we've got frogs, fish, birds, ducks, all kinds of animals, and that's not even looking at the insects that live inside rivers. It's a huge ecosystem all in one tiny body of a river. If you went pond dipping, well, river dipping, you'd find thousands of different animals all living in one space. And now onto the water itself. We can describe it in loads of different ways. So I've got here shimmering. Now I compare shimmering and bright to each other. So we've got the shimmering sun or the bright light making shimmering waves. Bubbling. I like it when it's just about to go over a waterfall, or when it's just crashed down and you get that bubbling water at the bottom. Flowing, fast, snaking. If you've ever seen a river meander, then it snakes its way through the landscape. Powerful. Rivers are really powerful. They can cut through rocks over time. Glittering, strong. All of these words are just used to describe a river. And now you see what I mean about it being really hard to just pick a few syllables to describe a river. But I've managed to pick my favourite ones. Yours might be completely different, but I've got Miss J's River Haiku here. So my first line, I've got, the fast water runs. Now I can check that this is the right amount of syllables. So the fast water runs. So I've got 5 syllables there in my first line. Now I need 7 in my next line. So I've chosen fish swim in glittering light. So that's 7 for that one. And then lastly I need 5. Now I always like trying to find just 2 words for my last line. You might be completely different. You might want 2 words for your first line. But I like to end it on a really powerful line. So I've chosen powerful nature. So I've chosen one of the words that's got 3 syllables in, and then one that has 2 to make my 5 at the end. But that took a lot of time for me to try and figure out which words I wanted. And now it's over to you. You now have the challenge to try and figure out which words you're going to use, and you're going to write your own river haiku. You might come up with lots of river haikus, and that's okay. Loads and loads of people spend hours making haikus because once you do one of them, you all of a sudden want to use up the rest of your words and go and make a few more. But once you've done all of your poems, or just one of your poems if you didn't want to do lots, put it somewhere, write it up really neatly and put it somewhere, because next week we're going to be learning how to present our poems to make them look as if they are a river. And to make it just a bit more of a performance poetry aspect. So this week, do as many poems as you want to. I'm not going to tell you how long to spend on this because it is completely up to you. Have fun while you're doing it, and even if you're struggling a bit for words to describe a river, you can actually find videos of rivers flowing on YouTube to help you. So have lots of fun, go outside, enjoy the nature whilst you're doing it, and have a great time, everyone.